Thank you for joining us. This is DeAnna Ball with us today. She is an awesome neighbor that we had living in Utah. And I thought of her with sharing about her love of horses. And because she has such a love of horses and such a gift of horses, my daughters loved being able to watch her horses next door. And she even taught them some training, how to train horses and do things like that. So welcome, DeAnna. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Good morning, Shelley. It is so good to see you again. I can't believe I actually taught your girls anything. I learned mostly from them.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Okay, my husband Terry and I, we've been married a long time, 40 something plus years, and we have 6 children. So we had 2 boys, 2 girls, and then we adopted 2 little boys after the crisis in Romania, and we weren't able to have more children, and so I traveled over there and followed my heart and followed the Lord and found 2 little boys, one for each arm.
Yeah.
Family. And we came home, and when they were about a year and a half, we moved to Linden. What happened is my husband had told me that when he graduated from school, his PhD, that we could have horses. And so the day after he graduated, I went out shopping.
Oh, wow.
I said, honey, it's only going to cost $200. That's it. So I figured I would get by cheap. And anyway, then I told him, whoa, I missed it by a couple of zeros. And I brought home 2 horses, and we had nowhere to put them. So we looked for a home in Linden. Linden is a beautiful place. You can have sidewalks in front, but you can have horses in the back.
Yep.
If you have a half acre, you can have 2 horses. And so my parents owned the land behind us. And so we figured that would be another 2 horses, and the most we could have would be 4. But for me, 2 horses is the ideal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you have 4 horses, it's so fun. You can have lots of people on your trail rides with you. And that happens a few times a year. But meanwhile, you're hauling hay and you're scooping the manure and you're taking care of flies and you're feeding and feeding and feeding. And it's a lot of work for just that couple of times.
Yeah.
Taking a large group. So when we narrowed down to just 2 horses, it meant that Terry and I could ride together. It meant that 2 people who knew how to ride could go riding, or it meant you could take a grandchild or a friend wherever you went. So for me, 2 horses was just perfect.
That's awesome. And what sparked this love of horses? Like, did you have horses when you were younger, or?
I have to blame my dad.
Okay.
You know, Grandma and Grandpa had a horse, a little old horse out in Draper, and a couple of times a year he'd take us out there and put us on. And as a child, it felt amazing to get lifted up there and see what the world looked like from way up there. And when the horse began to walk, just, you know, to be able to move and see things. And interestingly enough, my dad always said, well, we had 5 sisters, and he always said, when we get a boy, we can move to the farm. Our little brother wasn't born till we girls were all in high school.
Oh, wow.
But anyways, Dad did eventually move us to Draper and buy a little horse for us, and it only cost him $150. So that's what I thought horses would still cost.
Right. Oh, that's where you got the 200. Okay.
My sisters and I spent every spare minute on the back of that cute little horse, and we rode up and down all the foothills of Draper. That's where we lived at the time, and now it's all filled with homes, but
yeah,
we explored every nook and cranny back in the day.
That's awesome.
Right.
A lot of adventures, I'm sure.
You do have adventures and you do make friends. And
yeah.
These days I think that's the funnest thing is for me, the number one is to try to stay safe.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something that can happen. And one of the ways to stay safe is to ride often and give the horse lots and lots of experience where you can develop trust in each other. And I kind of had a rule, only add one new thing at a time and watch how it goes. In other words, only one new person at a time or one new place at a time.
Okay.
Not just a new person and a new place and
Uh-huh.
and even new gear, a new bit or a bridle can sometimes cause a little trouble.
Wow. So have you what are some of the adventures that you've gone on recently? Do you do a lot of trail rides still?
In my early days, I did so many trail rides. And one of the things that we needed to do trail rides was, well, living in Linden, we'd go straight up the mountain and around, and I called it the Linden Loop. And then I wanted to join a group called Backcountry Horsemen because they rode all over the place. And I was so excited for that ride on Antelope Island. That would be my dream ride. And Terry's such a sweetheart. We really couldn't afford a trailer, but he bought one and fixed it up and sold it, made a little money, bought another one, fixed it up, sold it. And he did that till we could afford a trailer. It was not an expensive trailer that we bought from a neighbor, Jim Dane. And it was a cattle trailer, just open. And that opened the world to me. And I got to ride on Antelope Island. And I got to ride out in the West Desert. And I got to ride my favorite place, which is South Fork up up Provo Canyon.
Okay.
South Fork. That one is filled with bikers and hikers and puppy dogs and photographers now. And even motorcycles are up there. We got to ride up American Fork Canyon before it was filled with people. There are just so many beautiful places to ride. And I love, love, love trail riding. However, as I got older, and as we learned that Terry got blisters when he rode that long, I thought, what am I going to do? I need to still stay on my horse. I've either got to quit riding or ride more, one or the other, because I was a school teacher. And by the time I came home and made dinner, it was dark most of the year. And so I made a decision to ride at night. And what I did is I bought a pass to an arena, a big indoor arena, and it's in Highland. And I asked a friend to ride with me, and she said yes. And so it didn't matter if it was dark. You know, it gets dark at 5 o'clock in winter here. And so I'd just pick her up, and we'd have 2 horses, and we'd go down to the indoor arena and ride our little hearts out. And so I started learning how to have fun and competition in the indoor arena.
Okay.
And so I was never a competition rider before, but the last several years I just got into it deeper. And I bought a really nice horse. I don't know if you could see her picture. This is Miss Hollywood Booga.
Oh, wow.
And with her, I started being able to win competitions indoor arena. And last year, my first belt buckles.
Awesome. Congratulations.
I know. It's so fun. And with her and Terry, here's one of the fun things we do. We dress
so fun.
in competition, and we choreograph things to music and ride with our group and have a lot of fun that way.
So you dance with your horses.
We do. And I choreograph these drills that we do. And actually this year, I gave my horse, Miss Hollywood Booga, to the girl that rode with me years ago that taught me how to ride really well. And I'm not competition riding this year. I'm just riding for fun in the mornings and in the evenings, but I haven't committed myself to ride with any groups this year. It's just going to be me and my horse when we have time together alone, and I'm enjoying that so much.
That's good.
It is a little different.
So you mentioned that you love trail riding. Why do you like trail riding so much?
Well, I was born with short little legs and they get tired. But on my horse, I can go anywhere.
There you go.
And I just saw things that I never thought I would see.
Yeah.
I've had moose step out in front of me on trails
Wow.
twice. Yeah, twice that's happened. And I've seen those beautiful lakes, and I've seen things from a distance that I really I would say I love to hike, but really I think we all, well, maybe other people are better than me, but I really just love the thought of hiking and seeing things. I seem to be slower than everybody else. But when I'm on my horse, that was the funnest thing to do, to just go up above Linden and look down and see where the kids' schools were, and see where our home was, and see things from a different perspective, and to have a horse that was willing to go up those hills. And I think that one thing that always surprised me, when a horse starts to go up a hill, they want to go faster.
Oh yeah.
They love to drop for a second and then get their little legs in gear and gallop up to the top, And they're like, wow, how many people do you know that are like that?
Right.
I take a few steps and I breathe. I look at the scenery, take a few more steps, breathe a little more. And it is fun coming down on a hill on a horse. They really, really need to, get their balance together and engage their hind end. And you need to kind of sit back and let them work it out. And you learn you need to go straight down on hills. You can't really go sideways down a hill, or they could roll over.
Uh-huh.
So tackling things straight on, especially going downhill. One of my friends just taught me, well, it was George Curtis. He said, they've got 4 legs. Don't worry if one stumbles. You've got 3 more then to pick them up and keep moving.
That's great. That's good voice. So I love your comment about how you just hit things head on. The horses just hit things, go straight for it. And it's probably a good life lesson right there.
It is. It is. Sometimes going up a hill, to really dig into something, if you're heading the right way, that's probably good advice as well.
Yeah.
And especially when you're going down, you do not want to go sideways and roll.
Yeah. And what an awesome opportunity to get out and be in nature like that and have this friend with you, right? Your horse. So just enjoy all this different perspective, like you were saying, and enjoy nature together.
We used to have a neighbor, well, we still do. Her name is Shirley. And you never saw Shirley alone. She was on one horse leading another horse.
Oh.
Seemed like, whoa, that's amazing. And now I've learned that is the funnest and the best way to go.
Okay.
A horse will often be scared if they're the only horse. But if they've got their buddy next to them, they're very courageous.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I started, if you're going to go somewhere alone, just take that other horse with you and just hold a rope on them, and they stay together, and they seem to be just so much more relaxed when they're together.
Huh. That's awesome. That's neat. You had mentioned about training. You trained your horses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, they always say that you're always training your horse, because whatever you do, the horse is listening. And I seriously would say I am not in the least a horse trainer. But when you look back on it, of course, you're training all the time. But one of the funnest things I learned, and I think I have way too much fun with this, is what I call just playing with my horses when they are free, when they have no rope attached to them at all. And so we've got a little field out back, and just for example, when little Breeze was born, and by the way, she's 25 years old and still one of our best horses. Yeah, she was born there. And so she was the wildest little turkey. She just paid no attention to what you wanted, and she'd defy everything you wanted. But anyway, it was so fun to put her loose in that field and to realize that what you did affected what she did. And so she'd go out there and she'd run like the wind and show how strong she was. And she'd always fall. she fell so many times, especially if the ground was a little bit slippery. She would not take care of herself. She would just run full out and fall down. And what happened? Or she'd run into the fence. I think she was lame for a year from running into the fence. And
Oh my goodness.
and so forth. But little by little, she settled down a little bit. We learned that when you're there in the middle of the field, you can walk towards the horse and they've got a line, an imaginary line right down the center of their body. And if you walk towards the hind end, they'll go forward. You walk or even turn to the front end, they'll turn and go back the other way. And so we play with them that way, and we often do it in a round pen. I could do it in that rectangular field as well. But you can get them just going circles around you. And then the word I use is ho. And I'll say ho, and oh, they'll stop. Oh, can I rest now? Yep. You know what I did with Breeze is I would ask her to turn just by changing which way I was looking at her, and she'd turn around and go the other way, and I'd turn her again just by facing this way, and she'd turn and go the other way, and she'd be like, can I stop? Can I stop? No, you didn't turn the way I wanted you to turn.
Wow.
You turned away from me. And what horses will do, you just let them know that's the wrong answer, and you just keep doing it till they go, well, what do I need to do? So finally she turned her direction, but she turned towards me. And immediately all I did just step back and say, oh. She's like, oh, if I turn towards you, I get to stop. I have no physical control on her. You know, you communicate.
Yeah.
So this cute little Breeze, she learned that when I turn her, she should turn towards me, and she'd be like, can I stop? And I yep, you stop. Another thing I used to ask her to do was she'd hold her head up so high and just keep going. And I just kept making her go, and she'd be like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And finally she'd put her head down, like, oh, if I put my head down, I can stop. Yep. Well, just over not too long of a period of time, she learned how to do cute little circles towards me, to turn and stop and look at me. She learned to put her head down. See, when they put their head down, it stretches the muscles across their back and they relax. When their head's down, they're safe. Okay. When their head's down, it's a smoother ride. Their head's up, you know, it can be pretty dangerous. They're like, oh, what's going to hit me? They're jumping around, put their head down. They feel, oh, I'm in control. I'm relaxed. Interesting. So teaching her to put her head down, and then she learned to listen to my voice. And if I said trot, she'd trot.
Wow.
If I say canter, she'd canter. That's what we call galloping. But if I say it this way, canter, it means the movement of your back legs. And if I'd say, oh, she'd stop. And she could do whatever I asked her to do. And all I had to do was stand out there in that little field. And, you know, she's the safest horse now for anybody.
Wow.
Yeah, I love to play with my horses. And so that's a little bit of training that way. However you react with your horse, they react back. And people sometimes say, oh, you're a horse whisperer, but it's really not true. You're a horse, you have to listen to them. And it's interesting, you know, that you listen and see what they're doing, and you can do the smallest things to affect what they're doing. And you develop a trust between each other and a communication between each other till they'll do what you ask them to do. This some horses are better than others, but this cute little horse I have now called Sneakers, I learned that she can read my mind. She will do what I'm thinking about asking her to do. Wow. And how that works is that we give the most subtle cues of what we're thinking. When you think about how people act, we give subtle cues about what we're thinking. And when you're on their back, they feel every twitch of your body. Believe it or not, they can tell if you looked this way or if you looked that way.
Even in a saddle?
In the saddle. If you're sitting on them and you look this way, not only can they see you, but they can feel that your seat bones change just a little bit in the saddle. And so a lot of times I try to ride without using those reins at all, and just turn my head and see if she'll go. And if she doesn't, I'll touch her just a little bit with my foot. horses usually move away from pressure. But yeah, finally, I compete in a sport called reining. And reining, you have to do fast circles, slow circles, lead changes, sliding stops, spins, all kinds of great things. And my cute little horse, she's, what next? What do we do? You know, and if I think it, she knows it. And if I, you know, and I'm always taking lessons. And finally, one of my trainers told me, DeAnna, you don't have to lean forwards and go or anything like that. Your horse knows when you're thinking about fast. And I went, whoa, that's true. I don't have to do all kinds of silly things. In fact, their heart rate even matches your heart rate.
Wow.
They can feel how you're feeling. They're very in tune. Now, I'm not saying every horse is or every situation, but when you develop a bond with the horse, they listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And most horses, well, Breeze doesn't. Breeze just pretty well got to tell her what to do, but a really good horse is trying so hard to please you. One of the things that I learned about my little horse Sneakers is how hard she's trying to please me. And one thing I was annoyed with her was that I called her the accelerator, because of any horse I've ever known, she likes to go faster and faster and faster and faster. She does not wear out. She'll just go faster. And I was like, oh my goodness, honey, other people have horses. Can't you do the slow down? Well, I finally, through another story I could tell you, learned that she's really trying to please me. And it occurred to me, my legs, we wear spurs on the back of our boots. And interestingly enough, like if I need her to do anything, all I have to do is tip my foot just a little and she'll feel that spur just a little closer to her. Mm. And I don't poke her with it or anything like that, but she feels it. And I finally figured out, I don't need to ride with spurs for her. Yeah. And I took my spurs off and I haven't put them back on again and that really helped her, because she felt that spur, whether it was bumping her or not, and she felt it was saying, go faster, go faster. Go faster. Yeah. I took those off, but she was such a nice, slower horse.
So I love the connection that you have with your horses and the relationship, and that there's a lot of trust there between both of you, and just how when we can get to that point of relationships, how it can go smoother and we have a better understanding and take time to understand one another. And I love that. I've learned in nature with your horses, of course, right?
That's true. I think the thing that stood out to me so amazingly was that a horse has its own nature, meaning the way it responds and the way it acts. And I've talked to you a little bit about how I play with my horses in the field. And it struck me so funny that I love dogs. Can I put my dog in the field and I'll walk towards its head or its hind end and it's just going to go which way I tell it to from a distance? Absolutely not.
No.
You know, how do you talk to a dog? You kind of bend a little lower and pat your knees and they come, you know, and it's just because it's their nature. And so I go, well, maybe should I bend my knees and go like this to my horse and it'll come? No, they're not going to do that.
They'll look at you funny.
Yeah. I know. And I thought about it and I thought, well, it's probably because they're different size. So what if I put a cat? Or no, a cow. What if I put a cow out there? Is a cow going to do cute little circles around you and trot when you tell it to and turn when you? No, it's just not their nature. And I'm thinking that reminds me a little bit it reminds me a little bit of our relationship with our Heavenly Father, our God. Mm-hmm. If we're made in His image, then you'd think that we are going to be like Him. Yeah. But the truth is, we're so unlike Him in so many ways. We're easily disobedient. We're easily want to do what we want to do, not what He wants to do. But there can come that transformation where we actually start listening. We actually start saying, God, what do you want me to do today? Who is it I can help? And depending on the questions that we ask him when we're listening, we can hear what he tells us. If we're asking God for the things that we want him to do for us, we might hear some answers. But one way I've learned that we for sure can hear the voice of God is when we say, God, who can I help today?
Yeah.
You will hear that answer.
Yeah.
The more unselfish our prayers are, the more we can actually hear him. And then he can say, would you check in on so-and-so? And he can answer your prayers for your children, because everybody I know has had challenges in their life with their children that you, or your life in general, that you have no idea what to do about. And there is no owner's manual. And nobody you know has had that problem.
Yeah.
And you can just say, God, please help me know what to do today. And then we incline our ear and we get a little idea. Oh, okay, I'll try that. That'll work for today. You know, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And a horse, you can tell also what they're thinking by their ears. And if their ears are off over here looking at something that they think is so scary and so important at the moment, they are not listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when their ear, and they'll do that a lot of times, like if you're in the middle of the circle, they'll tip that one ear towards you and they'll start to turn their head a little bit towards you.
Hmm.
If they go through this little fun playtime with their head turned away from you, you're over there, you're not on their mind. But if they're kind of curved and inclined towards you, and I think as we can take our lives and incline our attention to God, he can guide us and he can be our Father, and he can help us know how to act as he would have us act, and to do what he would have us do, to become his hands in service to others. There's no shortage of answers to prayer when we ask him how we can help another soul today, as opposed to asking him for all the things that we want.
Right. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And and that's what God does, right? He's concerned of everyone else. He's not concerned of himself. He loves us and he'll guide us as we need it. But as we're looking to serve others, that we'll be blessed as we're serving others as well. Our needs will be met. I feel, as we're out serving others.
And it's the easiest way for us to develop that trust in him, so that he can give us more, say, for example, complicated instructions.
Yeah.
I was given a challenge, I think it's been a little over a year ago, to teach my horse to come pick me up while I'm sitting on the fence.
Oh.
And I told my in-laws, I said, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the fence this week. Because my horse is scared of heights, of other things higher than her.
Oh.
And also, a horse does not move towards pressure. So whatever I do is considered pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm waving at the hind end, it's supposed to move away from me. So how can I wave at the hind end and it'll come towards me?
Yeah.
And so because I've developed that trust in her, and because she's known to keep asking, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? And I keep bugging her till and you actually draw a line in the sand. And if they move this much, just the slightest 1/8 inch towards you, you draw a line in the sand where they began.
Mm-hmm.
They move their hind end that much, you stop and you don't bug them about it. You praise them for it. Always reward that for trying. I think Heavenly Father rewards us for trying. And it took my horse, it probably would have taken her 10 minutes if I was actually a trainer. But it literally just, it might have been a half hour till she says, oh, you want me to move over towards you? And I'd be like, yeah, but that's not quite good enough. oh, a little more. Okay. She literally moved her body and she'll come forward or backwards till it's just right.
Wow.
I about died laughing. I'm like, are you serious? She'll come pick me up on the fence now.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of a complicated instruction,
Yeah.
but I think our God, as we learn to trust him, what his communications are to us, he can lead us through some really tricky situations that are very specific and sometimes intense and sometimes life-changing and sometimes so easy and you forget them totally the next day. But it's just a matter of keeping that ear inclined to him, and he can guide you in all things.
Yes. Yeah. You need to learn to listen to him, to hear him, right?
Right.
And to take time to, like you're saying, though, when your horse is listening, just by the inclination of his ear, he's focused there. So where's our focus? And are we saying a prayer and rushing off? Or are we listening to what he's saying to us? Or even throughout the day, taking time to listen. So I love that. So what are some bucket lists for you with your horses? I know you've accomplished many. Do you have more?
Well, I will say that I've lived such a happy life, and I have always appreciated my horses. There was a time when we probably needed to sell them, couldn't really afford to buy the new hay. And so I took my little horse out on a ride around the neighborhood and came back, and my husband said, oh, listen, if you'll keep doing that, we'll find a way to feed them. And so I think, if I think about, I'd love to ride in the Red Rock country. I'd love to ride on the beach in California on my horse. I'd love this and that and the other. My heart is, I think about those things, but actually my heart is simple. My bucket list is just to keep spending time, just to go out there and rub that beautiful fur and to smell that amazing smell. I think my bucket list these days is a lot more simple than, like I said, I'm not going to compete this year. I won the belt buckle, and that's all I was so excited. I worked really hard. You know what? I don't need that now. I kind of need to help my grandkids enjoy. I kind of need to just be there as the sun's going down, because there's a really good feeling of being with your horse when the sun goes down. And my bucket list is to still hear that little clip, clop, if you happen to be on a road. On my bucket list is to be able to not yank on their mouth, to leave that mouth alone. Just change my position and say, sit down a little bit. And they stop real nice. Shelley, my bucket list is pretty simple. I think when you get tired of living, you're probably done. And I'm not tired of smelling them. I love to smell them. I love the smell of the leather. My bucket list would be to have my horse inclined towards me. But horses are different. They're not dogs. They don't love you when you come. It's really the feed they love. People think horses love you. Honestly, they don't. Dogs love you. But horses and you can communicate. I'll tell you, most people want to come up to a horse and rub their face, and both of my horses have always turned their faces away, and we're always insulted. And then one thing I learned recently, their mother doesn't rub their face. Their mother rubs their shoulder. So I've learned that all these years, when my horses turned their face away, they were showing me their shoulder.
Oh, that's interesting.
They were saying, rub here. So I guess I would have to say my bucket list is to keep learning, keep being.
That's a good bucket list. And I like the point of, now you're passing that love actually on to your grandchildren, helping them to learn this love of being around the horses and being in that nature. I love that. That's a good legacy.
Thank you.
And just, I think just to relax. And there is so much going on in the world, and you can always be on the move, but to just look into the simple things and enjoy those little moments is so important. Just like you're saying, enjoy, and the bucket list of having your horse turn its head a certain way, or, relaxing on the bit or whatever, just those are important things. The little things add up and bring joy.
It's the little things that are the big things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be with the horse. Other people love other things.
Yeah.
But I really feel like everybody needs something that they love.
Yeah. So I appreciate you joining me today. This has been so fun talking to you and your love of horses. Do you have any advice for people to get outside in nature? Like any suggestions for them?
I do. I have some advice.
Okay, awesome.
One piece of advice I would love to say to people, not only get out, but I want you to start looking forward to winter.
Okay.
Because it seems like as human beings, if it's perfectly just the temperature we want with just the right cloud, we're loving it. But people whine and complain if it's 1 degree too hot or 1 degree too cold. And I used to be one of those that just dreaded winter. I'm like, oh, and my son-in-law changed my mind about that. He said, you have got to look forward to winter. And I'm like, why? You have to shovel your driveway. And he says, look forward to shoveling your driveway. It's fun. And I just changed that attitude. And I went, oh yeah, we can shovel the driveway. This is fun. And you know what? It is fun. You wait for those snowflakes and you put on a hat, and you hurry out there, and then you go, oh, this isn't so bad. And you just have fun and you feel alive.
Yeah.
And he said, you've got to pick up at least some things that you love to do in winter. And so I changed my attitude about that. And now when it snows in March, I'm so excited because that means one more ski day. And I actually give up 2 months of riding. I try to ride my horse as much as I can, but about January and February, I tend to spend my time more in the snow than with them. And I'm like, okay, take a break, guys. I'll start you up again in March. And I just play in the snow and I love it. And if it snows again, I'm like, woohoo. So I just would say to people, enjoy every weather, whatever weather you have. Find what it is about that weather you like, because when you go outside, you're going to see the most beautiful things, and you're going to see that nature changes. It's never quite the same in the same place. It's always different colors. I can't believe how excited we get about just the color changes through the seasons.
Yeah.
Be outside and love it, because I think we need the oxygen. I think we need the sun. I think we need to get soaked sometimes. It is so fun to dress up super warm and be out in the coldest places and to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be safe and enjoy. I think God gave us a beautiful place to live, and let's enjoy it.